Good morning, fellow developers. My name is Edrick Y Guan from Obsidian Labs. Today, it's a pleasure to speak on EDCON and share our IDE for Ethereum. We call it Ethereum Studio. Ethereum Studio is a multi-platform IDE that can run either on desktop or in a web browser. It integrates all necessary tools throughout the smart contract development flow and stacks some of the most favorite tools in it. For example, code editor based on VS Code and Solidity language support, native support for Truffle, Hardhat, and Waffle frameworks. It also has a guest node and Ether.js library to run and connect to the Ethereum networks, which includes testnets and the mainnet. We also built a key pair manager and a contract inspector so that our developers can easily interact with the deployed smart contract. Now, let's take a closer look at the Ethereum Studio. The Ethereum Studio has very intuitive user interfaces, where on the top left corner, we have a project menu where you can manage your projects. On top right corner, we have a contract inspector where you can interact with your online contract. Block Explorer, where you can check out account details. And Network Manager, where you can manage your local nodes as well as the remote connections. On the bottom to the left, we have a key pair manager where you can centrally manage your key pair, including create, import, and delete. Creating a new project is easy in Ethereum Studio. Click on the Create Project button, fill out the name, and select from the provided templates, and select your framework. We support Truffle, Hardhat, and Waffle in Ethereum Studio. Then click Create. The Studio will create the project for you. When you're opening your project, we offer an intuitive project setting view where you can see all the general settings for your project. And here you can see we offer two choices for the linter, which can lint your codes for any errors or warnings. And it will mark the line that has errors or warnings for you. And if you move your cursor onto the warning or error mark, it will show the details about the warning or error. Just like this. Also, our code editor supports a go-to definition. If you have any source code internally linked in your source code, simply click on the link, and it will guide you to the source code in the code editor. Click on the build icon on the toolbar to start a build for the project. The compiler output will be placed under a subfolder named artifacts in the same project path. Give it a few minutes. There we go. As we see. Continue to deploy the contract by simply click on the deploy button, fill all the forms, and hit deploy button. Ethereum Studio will deploy your contract for you. After deployment, you can jump over to the contract inspector to debug your contract. The contract inspector will generate the list of write functions, view functions, and event query from the ABI file you just recently deployed. It will also populate the form for parameters based on specific functions and detect the data type for each of the column. For example, in the address column, we support select from the drop-down menu or fuzzy search with any combination of the characters. Now let's do a simple transfer function where we transfer 100 tokens from the key pair 1 to key pair 2. Before we proceed, let's check the balance for key pair 2. Now it's 0. Then we hit execute and push the transaction to the Ethereum Studio. The result column will show the return response of the method invoked. Now let's check again. It's 100. And supposedly, when we check the query for transfers, it's supposed to give us a transfer of 100 here. That's the newest transaction online. Sometimes some of the contracts might have a more complex data struct where Ethereum Studio are able to construct the whole data structs out of the ABI file and populate the form for you to fill. That will detect the different data type in the data struct. And so as the return response, the Ethereum Studio will parse the return response as a data struct and highlight it according to the different data type and show the actual data type it displayed for high readability. The Ethereum Studio has a network manager where you can manage all your local nodes, as well as switching over between different connections about testnet and mainnet. Once you switch over to a specific net, the Ethereum Studio components will be all connected to that network you just specified. Now I'm switching over to the web version because in the web version, we not only support switching, but also support connection to the MetaMask. Now I'm on the Ethereum mainnet controlled by MetaMask. And when we check the block explorer, it's connected to the mainnet as well. On the mainnet, when we are checking account details, it will show all the available ERC20 tokens in the account. And also we integrated the useful tools on the block explorer, which can make transfers. Click on the transfer icons, and you will be able to use any of the tokens in the account to make a transfer to the recipients. And when you're using MetaMask connected with the Ethereum networks, MetaMask will control the switch of testnets. Now let's switch over to the test network, and Ethereum Studio will follow the switch. And on the testnet, as we see, Block Explorer also integrates a faucet icon, so that when you hit on the faucet, we will bring you to the faucet application website where you can apply for the test tokens. Also, when connected with the MetaMask will take over the transaction processing to the Ethereum networks. Let's try a simple transfer of 0.2 ethers to another recipient. Hit sign and push, MetaMask will pop in and ask for confirmation about transactions. Simply hit confirm, and the transaction will be pushed to the Ethereum networks and be processed. For all of the transactions recorded to the Ethereum networks, not only the transfer function, but also a method invocation, it will be recorded in the bottom transaction history column. And you may recall the transaction details by simply clicking on any of the entries. It will bring back the parameters TX and receipt for you. Also, sometimes people may want to interact with smart contracts that are not deployed in Ethereum Studio. We offer an ABI storage where you can simply import those ABI files so that the contract inspector will be able to read it and generate the list of functions and event query, as well as the parameter form, just like we did in the previous demo, so that you can interact with the contract. For some programmers, we offer or they might find it useful to use the RPC client, where we support all the Ethereum RPC APIs, where you can fill the parameter form and get the raw response from the Ethereum networks. Whenever you are using Ethereum Studio and have an issue, question, feedbacks, or wish list, you may simply click on the top right corner and use that Report a Issue button function to report a feedback to us. We really appreciate any feedbacks from our developers, as we are still developing and make it even better than ever. Now, this is pretty much my demo today, and thank you very much for listening to my introduction to Ethereum. And since Ethereum Studio is a community project, you may access Ethereum Studio Web at any time at eth.ide.black, or you may check out our GitHub repo on the link above. If you're interested in other works we've done at Obsidian Labs, follow us on official website, GitHub repo, or Twitter. And thanks again for listening. My name is Edrick from Obsidian Labs.